Hello and welcome to Straight Shooting with Dan and Joseph. Tune into this podcast to get the latest news on competitive shooting events and to learn how to become a better shooter. Remember to subscribe to the podcast and be sure to recommend it to all of your shooting friends. Welcome to episode 16. I'm Dan Kello along with Joseph Stacker. In today's show, we've got our updates coming from the ARA National Tournament, the PSL Schilling Challenge, and the Ely main event. We just finished up with at the Bench Rest Rifle Club of St. Louis up in Wright City, Missouri. Just got back from that. We helped run those events, and we're there the whole time. We're going to go over what all happened, who won what, and what a good time everyone had. Then we'll lead off with Joseph as he previews our USPSA Area 4 Championship this coming weekend at Old Fort Gun Club in Van Buren, Arkansas. He's getting ready to load up. Joseph and Steve will be there with the Ely tent. We'll invite everybody to come by and see them. And he's going to get a preview of that coming match. And then we've got Precision Shots brought to you by Kello Shooting Sports, where we're going to talk about testing .22 ammo. Obviously, the way we think the best way to do it is to do it at the Ely customer range and do it in the test tunnel. But sometimes that's just not a possibility for some folks. And so how do you do it at home? What's some practices you can do to make sure you're getting the most accurate ammunition for your particular rifle? All right, we just got back not just a couple days ago from Bench Rest Rifle Club of St. Louis. If you've never been there, it's in Wright City, Missouri, up kind of northwest side of St. Louis. It's actually probably about a good hour drive from St. Louis down.
Actual St. Louis.
But that's good because they're out there. It's paved road all the way into it. Very, very nice facilities, and out far enough away that hopefully everybody will leave them alone and we can have fun. And we did have a little fun. Got to shoot a bowling ball out of a cannon and shoot it up like a mortar. That was
multiple bowling balls.
That's right. It was quite fun. And so anyway, we started off that Thursday with practice all day Thursday leading up to Labor Day weekend. On Friday, we started the day off with the PSL Schilling Challenge, sponsored by the Schilling Rifle Company, barrel makers out of Ennis, Texas, as well as triggers and some other stuff. And for target, it's a 5-target event, 22 long rifle bench rest, unlimited. Pay your money in, $125 entry fee, and then we've got good prize money that we give out.
And if you don't know what PSL is, it's essentially ARA for money. Like you win money. That's the draw to it.
Exactly. It's a little bit different target. It's best edge, but I mean it's the same thing. If it's a 22 long rifle and you can lug it up to the line, it's legal. Had a good number of competitors. I believe we had 72, which was a few more than last year, so good numbers. The Bench Rest Rifle Club has 60 benches. They're on 6-foot centers, and they're these ginormous benches. That is the most spread out, so it was really nice with all the COVID stuff going on to be outside and to be able to spread everybody out and use all those benches, and everybody had plenty of room and made for a really good weekend. Target number 1, you had to shoot at least a 2350. Now, scoring on the PSL target is 0 to 2500, but it also is similar to ARA, but also has an X. We've got a dot in the middle of it, and you have to take the dot all the way out to be an X. So best score possible is a 2500 25X, which of course has never been done. But an outside, it can be extremely challenging. The main challenge with the PSL target is because it's best edge, so the target is pretty small. And most everybody's gripe with it is that if the wind's blowing and you're having to hold off, that you don't get very far out there to where you're just holding off into the white paper
into space
with no reference points. Some of the other targets, the ABRA, the AR 5050, that have a bunch of rings, and even the ARA, you've got, you can hold off, but you're still holding on to at least one of the rings. But the PSL, you can get out there to where you're beyond all the rings in a hurry.
There's no reference.
And it makes it difficult. But target number 1, third place, 2350 17X was Noah Johns out of Arkansas. Second with a 2400 10X, Jim Stensvad, and your winner from Louisiana, 2400 18X was Marion Collier. Target 2, 2350 8X was Todd Wooten from Ohio. John Prince from Ohio is 2375 17Xs. And then Larry Landecasper from Nebraska, 2400 16Xs. Target 3, Matt Dardis was third, 2350-13. Todd Wooten was back up there again with a 2412X. And then Jerry Stiller from Whole Shot Arms, Stiller Precision Firearms used to be. Now he's Whole Shot Arms, shot a 2450, 13Xs. Just had 150 on that, so really nice target. Target number 4, Brian Brandt from Missouri, 2350 13X. John Manhart, 2408X. And then Kenneth Richards from Kentucky, 2450 14X, target 4 winner. Target 5, Brian Brandt, again, 2350 13. Bob Barnhart, originally from Ohio. Bob travels all around. We actually haven't seen Bob in quite a while. He's got a job that takes him all over the country, and he's been in a part of the country that didn't have much rimfire shooting, and we haven't seen him in a while, but now he's back up in Iowa, I believe, so he was able to come down and shoot with us, and it jumped right back in there. And second place on this target, 2375 14X. And then Todd Wooten, shooting Wooten, 2400 15X for your target 5 winner. So that made for the top 10 the Schilling Challenge. There was 10th place Larry Landecasper, 9th place John Prince, 8th place Ivan Wells from Kentucky, 7th place Jerry Stiller, 6th place Bob Cleveland from Oklahoma, 5th place Marion Collier, 4th place was Bob Barnhart, we just mentioned, 3rd place Noah Johns, 2nd Brian Brandt, and then shooting Wooten, Todd Wooten from Gallipolis, Ohio, was a winner with 11,625 total score and 60 X's. So Wooten was off to a very good day, was shooting extremely well, and took home a nice paycheck for that win. Now, the top 10 from this qualify for the main event, the Ely main event, that you finish in the top 10 of any of the PSL matches and get you a free entry into the main event. And that's the only way you can get in. And this is the last chance to qualify because we actually have this on Friday evening. And then Friday evening at 6 o'clock, we had the 3-target main event. We had 2 new qualifiers. 10th place Larry Landecasper got in on this one, and 4th place Bob Barnhart got in. Everybody else in the top 10 had already qualified.
It's the same, yeah.
So basically they keep re-qualifying because if you can limit the number of people that get in, then that's fewer people you got to beat in the main event to win the money, because the main event's for $10,000 prize purse. First place gets 5, second place gets 3, third place gets 2, fourth place gets 0. So wound up with 23 people lining up there. We drew benches. They're all side by side to shoot 3 targets in a row and see where you come up. So we had 23 in there: Todd Wooten, Brian Brandt, Ivan Wells, Jim Moorhead, Mike Sherrill, Noah Johns, Jason Thornhill, Jim Stensvad, Jerry Smith, Jerry Stiller, Gene Buckies. Gene Buckies was our guest here on the show, big time centerfire bench rest guy, converted over to rimfire. Then you had Bob Barnhart, Rhett Matheny, Marion Collier, Frank Shook, John Carper, Larry Landecasper, Richard Gorham, gunsmith we do a lot of work with, Keith Haggerty, Bob Cleveland, John Manhart, Tim Miller, and John Prince. And one thing, John Prince was the only one that actually had qualified at every PSL match we'd had this year. He finished in the top 10, so congratulations to John. That's just some really good shooting across the whole board. Was always in the top 10, really good and consistent. So just 3 targets. Target number 1, third place was Brian Brandt, 2350-16. Second was Bob Barnhart with a 2350-16. Actually tied on that and had to go with the tiebreaker being the whichever one had the latest first miss. And shooting Wooten, Todd Wooten come in 24-25 and 17 X's.
That was a good. The evening that match was shot was a good day for shooting.
Yeah, we started at 6 in the evening, so the sun wasn't quite going down yet. I mean, they still shot in daylight, but it was calming down. It was getting to be some good conditions. And then there, Todd, 24-25. That means they were all hundreds except he had 125. It wouldn't have 50. He had one that snuck out there on him, but then he had 17 X's, which again in this the X you have to take the dot all the way out, so it's pretty well a center punch. And he had 17 out of 25 that were X's. So Todd Wooten won that target. Go on to the second target. Shooting Wooten's third place on this one, 2414. Jim Moorhead from Oklahoma, 2415X. And then your winner out of Missouri, Brian Brandt, 2450 15X. And Brian's really good shooter out of Missouri, St. Louis, and Owensville. That area is kind of his home area, and he always does really well at Bench Rest Rifle Club of St. Louis. Target number 3, Third place, Jason Thornhill from Louisiana, 2400 14X. Second place, Todd Wooten, right back up in there in the top three, 2400 15X. And then Ivan Wells from Kentucky at a 2450 14Xs. So Wooten had a 2425, a 2400, and a 2400. So that's some pretty smoking good shooting right
Solid.
there. And so that brings up, I'll tell you top five. Fifth place was Mike Sherrill, 6975 37Xs from Indiana. Fourth place, Jim Moorhead out of Oklahoma, 7,040Xs. Third place, Ivan Wells from Kentucky, 7150 43Xs. Second was Brian Brandt there from Missouri, 7,241Xs. And of course, shooting Wooten, Todd Wooten finished off the day with another win, 7225 and 46Xs. So he was also, looking down through there, he was also the high X man. More X's than anyone else. So he took home the check for $5,000 after winning the previous check that day. Brian Brandt took $3,000. Ivan Wells took $2,000. So congratulations to those guys with the Ely main event. I really appreciate our sponsors, Ely Ammunition and Schilling Rifles, for helping make those possible. We're really working hard to get that PSL up and going and want to take it to where we can actually, hopefully one day, have some actual professional 22 bench rest shooters, and they're already starting on their way because Wooten took home about probably close to $7,000 probably on Friday. So not a bad day's work. That was all the main event. So then that ended up Friday night. That's a pretty long day for those guys. We started at 8 o'clock in the morning and finished up about 8 o'clock that night. So they did have a little break there in the afternoon. And but Saturday and Sunday we have the ARA Outdoor National Tournament. 8 targets. Shoot 5 targets on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. And this is the first year we've got the factory class going. And so we just mixed them all in. We didn't know quite what to expect. Had 9 folks show up for that factory class, which was a good start. And we were pleased with everything that went on with that. Factory class, we had target number 1, Kent Flannery, won it with a 2450, and that's going to be kind of an ongoing theme. Kent Flannery there's shooting that Remington bolt-action rifle and really had that thing humming. Shot a 2450 to win target 1, 2500 to win target 2. Then John Douglas jumped up there, shot a 2500 on target 3 to win it. And then Kent Flannery ran off back-to-back 2500s, a 2450, and then another 2500. And then the last target of the day, Shane Seals jumped up there with a 2500 to win it. So ended up being your top 5. Shane Seals in 5th, Eric Alford was in 4th, Clint Barnard in 3rd, John Douglas in 2nd, and Kent Flannery in 1st to win the inaugural factory class outdoor national tournament. Looking for that to really grow this next year. They kicked that off this year, but it was kind of a tough year with the COVID stuff.
It has grown for sure. I mean,
Yes.
You can see the growth more for the local clubs because some of them have doubled and tripled. For the big national matches, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, we debated whether or not to even have the national tournament because it's designed to get people introduced on less expensive type rifle with not a whole bunch of money tied in. And so how many of those guys are really going to want to travel to go to a big match? I mean, because they're in there, it's more of a budget-minded shooter that still likes to compete, that wants to do it within a certain budget. And so they're probably not going to travel as much as our unlimited guys. On the unlimited side, we had our junior shooters, had 8 junior shooters. And the top 3 on them, third place was Elise Knott. Second place was Gabe Carper, and your junior shooter winner, Madison Reed. Maddie Reed out of Missouri, out of right outside Jefferson City, was the winner with 17,925. Maddie also finished in the top 10 overall. She was 7th in the overall with everybody, but we had a good turnout. The junior shooters always have fun with them. 4th place was Hudson Wright out of Arkansas. 5th place was Connor Reed, Maddie's little brother, in 5th. And then 6th place is Ty Gorham, Richard Gorham's son, out of Oklahoma. 7th place was Ellie Goodman out of Oklahoma. And 8th place was Casey Smith. And one of the things that was a real treat for us, we always like to kind of start off the national tournament with the national anthem and that type of things. And Casey come up and said, "I want to sing the national anthem." And I was like,
Okay.
"Okay." They said, "Go ahead, show him how you can sing." And so he just busted it out right there in front of everybody and sang. And I was like, "Well, dadgum, that's pretty darn good. Let's do it." So we got ready, and so little old Casey sang the national anthem to start it off, and it was a really good start.
And then we launched a bowling ball like 100 feet in the air.
Yeah, it was higher than that. I don't know how we dang near lost it. Anyway, Scott Pieper runs Bentrest Rifle Club out there, and he come up and he said, "Well, at the end of the song, I've got this cannon. I can shoot this bowling ball off right at the end of the Star Spangled Banner." And I said, "Well, that'd be cool."
I was not expecting that.
Well, and that's what I told him. I said, "Well, that'll be cool, Scott." I said, "But, and I appreciate you volunteering this, but just like any good volunteer, you're going to donate something, and I'm going to ask you for even more." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, those guys are going to be surprised when that goes off.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to see it, so I need you to shoot it twice." And he said, "Well, it takes me a little bit. I got to load everything back up." I said, "Well, no problem. We'll do it, and then I'll go over the rules with everybody. And then at the end of the rules, we'll fire it off again." And he goes, okay. Well, sure enough, by the time we got through the rules, everybody, we had 109 of us, I think, there total. Everybody was out front sitting there waiting on Scott to shoot that thing off again.
Yeah.
And he shot that bowling ball off.
If you want to know how far you can launch a bowling ball out of a cannon, the answer is far.
That's right. Well, he shoots it straight up. And I mean,
the first one, I couldn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes up to where if you're watching it, typically you can keep your eye on it and see it, but then it'll come back down. The first one he had landed back on the range. The second one he launched landed off in the woods, but it was coming down at an angle, and you could hear it going.
The holes are whistling.
It sounded like a mortar coming in or something. But anyway, that was quite the deal. If you go to the American Rimfire Association Facebook page, there's a good video of it on there where you can slow-mo it. But anyway, it's a pretty good ending to hear a cannon fired off to at the end of the Star Spangled Banner.
It probably went like a mile. I said 100 foot a while ago.
It was way more than 100 foot. But it was good. We appreciate Scott and all their work that they do at that range. That range is truly unbelievable. They do a fantastic job of keeping it up, and that really topped it off for shooting that cannon off. So anyway, we do back to the ARA Unlimited Tournament. Target number 1, John Carper out of Indiana, had a 2350 for third. Matty Reed, that we were junior shooter, was 2350 for second. And then John Manhart won target number 1 with a 2400. Target 2, Richard Gorham, gunsmith out of Oklahoma, was third with a 2400. Keith Haggerty was second with a 2400. And then Malachi McFarland out of Missouri was a 2400, with his being the latest first miss. And it was good to see Malachi. Malachi was a longtime junior shooter. He's up and actually in college now, going on to school to be a machinist. And it was good to see him back and him still shooting. And that's ultimately, I want to show Malachi off a little bit, because a lot of people, everybody in the shooting sports likes to promote the junior shooters and try to keep them coming. And typically what happens is when they go off to college, we lose them.
Yeah.
And just the nature of the beast. Most of them move off. They're either shooting with dad or granddad, which Malachi is always shooting with his grandfather, Glenn Townley. But he's been staying in the area enough where he was able to come out to shoot. But in the same token, Noah Johns, that we'd mentioned earlier, ended up finishing really good on the day, has kind of started back. He was the same way. He always come with his grandfather, Bruce Doster, and I can remember Noah shooting from when he was 10 years old.
I can't remember if it was Carper. Somebody had an old picture of all. I think it was all the juniors who were there this year from like 8 or 9. Yeah, I mean, it was from a while ago when they were all still pretty young, and now they're like 18, 19 years old, and it was kind of cool to see side by side.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But Noah had kind of did that, graduated, went off to school, did his fun and running around, and now he's married and is back out shooting again. Brought his wife. I don't know what he is, 22, 23 now, probably.
He's pretty young.
He's still pretty young, but again, coming back. And so I think that's really why we invest in our junior shooters. Yeah, we're probably going to lose them for a few years.
Well, it's easy to come back when you're, pretty good at it, because a lot of those juniors finished, pretty high. Like,
yeah, by the
in
time they get up
overall.
there. Yeah, they absolutely did. With Maddie, like we say, finished in the top 10 overall. And then Malachi winning this target, which actually on our 20-year, we gave away a gun to all the junior shooters, which I guess was the year before last. Was it last year or year before last? Now I can't remember. Anyway, Malachi won that gun. And typically ARA Nationals, the big door prize at the end of the day is we have the project rifle, which is a set-up Pinterest rifle ready to go shoot that we get parts and everything donated. Gunsmith donates it, and then we draw for it at the end. It's about a probably $4,500 worth of stuff. Well, for our 20-year anniversary, whether that was last year or the year before, I can't remember right now.
I think it was last year.
We gave away 3. Instead of doing the one, we did our regular traditional one, and then we did another one that we had a drawing for out of everybody who'd been shooting all year long, and then we had another one that was just for the juniors. So we had juniors come from all over just because there was only like 12 of them, and they had each one of them had a 1 in 12 shot of winning it. Anyway, Malachi won it, which was good to see. Malachi had been coming for years, and that's the gun he was shooting. Richard Gorham had built it, and Malachi is shooting that thing very, very well.
That's a good gun.
Absolutely. All right, target 3. Jason Thornhill, 2,400 third place. Frank Shook, 2,450 for second. And then Richard Gorham, 2,450. Gunsmith we just mentioned from Oklahoma, from Claremore, Oklahoma, with a 2,450 to win target 3. Target number 4, Todd Wooten, shooting Wooten back up, doing good, 2,350. Second, Glenn Townley, 2,400. And then Noah Johns that we just mentioned was a 2,400. Noah out of Arkansas. Target number 5, Greg Monroe, third place, 23.25. Second, Jerry Smith from Louisiana, 23.50. And then Mark Penrod out of Indiana, another gunsmith from northern Indiana, 23.50. Good shooting there by Mark. So that was targets 1 through 5. That ends up being the end of the day on Saturday. And so at the end of the day on Saturday, we had in 5th place overall, Jerry Smith with 11,225. 4th place was Todd Wooten with 11,300. 3rd place was Noah Johns with 11,475. Second was Jason Thornhill with 11,525, and Richard Gorham was 11,650. So he was in the lead after day 1. And I talked to Shooting Wooten at the end of the day there, and I was like, man, what's going on? Like, you killing it yesterday, and he was still shooting good, don't get me wrong, but there's a few more competitors. I mean, honestly, the top of the heap was there on Friday, is there on Saturday as well. And he's like, man, I got back to the hotel Friday night. I was so hyped up. He said, I didn't sleep hardly a wink all night.
Tired.
He said, I was so tired, but my adrenaline was going, and I couldn't. He's like, I went to sleep, but I didn't really go to sleep. Yeah. It was like I barely laid down, and next thing I knew, the alarm went off, and I felt like I hadn't slept a wink.
Well, that is one thing. So regardless of the ARA matches or the USPSA, they're long days. I mean, it may only be like 8 or 10 hours. Like, it's essentially a work day.
Yeah.
But you're outside the whole time. You're typically walking around almost the whole time. You don't really eat. You don't really get a break or anything. And it makes for a long day.
Yep.
And you do that for 3 or 4 days in a row, and you're going to start feeling it.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm sure Todd and them had a little bit of a party effect after winning all that money too that night. I would imagine I would have. All right, so that was so Richard Gorham was in the lead at the end of day 1. So we come back on Sunday, target 6, 7, and 8. Target 6, 3rd place, Greg Monroe, 2,400. Second, Gene Bucky's, 2,450. And your winner of target number 6, Noah Johns with a 2,500. Only ARA Unlimited 2,500 of the weekend. Excellent target. Good shooting there by Noah. Target 7, Jason Thornhill, 3rd place with a 2,400. Second, 2,425, Bruce Doster. And then your winner, 2,450, Frank Shook. That was 7. Target number 8, Greg Monroe, 2,300, 3rd place. Frank Shook, 2,300, 2nd place. And then your winner on that one, Shooting Wooten, come up there, 2,400. And won the very last target of the day. So it's always really tight coming down to the end. You would think that 8 targets would spread things out, but we end up with basically 2nd and 3rd place overall are tied, have to go to a tiebreaker. There was a couple of other places in here. There was 6th and 7th was tied. So the top 10 overall 10th place was Greg Monroe with a 17,825. 9th was Frank Shook with a 17,825. So they were tied. And the way you break those ties is you go to the highest overall target. Frank Shook had a 2450, and Greg Monroe's highest one was a 2400. So that puts Frank up ahead of Greg. Bruce Doster, 17,850, so 25 points in front. And then Maddie Reed, our junior shooter, come in 7th with a 17,925. So she actually tied with Brian Brandt, 17,925, but Brian got her on the high target.
I think he did that last year too.
Did it? They were really close. They shoot a lot together, so they like to rub around one another. But anyway, Jerry Smith, 5th place, 17,975. Then Shootin' Wooten ended up 4th overall with an 18,400. And then 50 points in front of that, Richard Gorham with 18,450 and Noah Johns with 18,450. But Noah had that 2,500, and so that put him in the lead over Richard. So Richard ended up finishing 3rd. Second, Noah Johns, and your overall winner of the 2020 ARA Unlimited Outdoor National Tournament with 18,575 is the Jason Thornhill from Monroe, Louisiana. And actually, Jason won that last year, so he's a back-to-back champion, which I need to check back. You got to go back a long time. I believe there was somebody at the very beginning of ARA that actually about 17, 18. It's been 17 or 18 years since anybody's won it back to back. But there were some guys that really tore it up the first few years there that won quite a bit. But anyway, congratulations to all those folks. We really had a good time. Had the Project Rifle giveaway, which was a 2500X gun built by Jerry Stiller in one of the Precision Woodcraft stocks with a Muller-Works barrel, dual trigger, Citron scope. Citron donated. Jerry donated from Whole Shot. Randy Owens, Precision Woodcraft, donated. Kello Shooting Sports donated some. And Mr. Sanspree won that. And then we also had a factory rifle giveaway, a Savage rifle that Savage donated with a Citron scope that Citron donated. And our little junior shooter from Arkansas, last name Hudson, or first name Hudson Wright. Hudson Wright from Arkansas wound up winning that, and so he was with his grandfather there, so it was good to see. We had 2 new shooters. I believe both of them, Robert Sanspree and Hudson Wright, was the first time at the event, and so they able to take home a little bit of hardware. So there's always, at the end of the ARA National Tournament, there's usually 2 questions everybody asks that weren't there. Who won? Who won the gun? And so that's what everybody wants to know. So Robert Sanspree was the winner of the gun. Very good year. All right, so that wraps up ARA. Now we're looking forward in the PSL, looking forward to this coming weekend. Joseph and Steve heading over to the USPSA. Is it Area 4?
Area 4.
All right, tell me about Area 4.
It is, like you said, it's at Old Fort Gun Club, which is in Van Buren, Arkansas. And the match sponsor is Walter. And I can't remember his name. We actually met the guy that is putting on the match while we were in Nebraska. And he was shooting there. I think he shot the day after I did, which I believe was Saturday. We shot all day Friday, and he started Saturday and Sunday. And got to talk with him for a little bit. And it should be pretty similar. Not as bad as Area 3. It won't be as gimmicky, which I'm glad, because that was my first what I would call gimmicky match, and I'm not a super fan of it, because it's stuff that you can't drill, or that you wouldn't drill on your own, like weird shooting positions and difficult starts and things like that. And so this one should be a little more normal. And I've been working a lot on physical movement. I've been running a lot of miles and squats and stuff like that, try to get my movement up. So we'll see if that pays off. Everybody that I talk to, like the pro guys, like Shane Coley, JJ, guys like that, they put a lot of information out on social media. And that's one question that they always get is, what are you doing in the gym, or like physically? to make you better, and it's typically squats and push-ups, pull-ups, running, some agility work, stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of that, and I think Blake has too. And
yeah, Blake's been going up. Well, he started working out, but that was right when he got.
Well, then they shut it down.
Yeah, COVID shut it down, but
which
I think he's back at it now.
I've got a little home gym, so it's not that big of a deal for me. But I've been running a lot, and then kind of ramped it up on the lifting and stuff like that, just trying to get more out of my body physically. And so we'll see if that pays off. Like I was talking to Blake just a couple days ago, and I said, yeah, my hits are probably going to suck now, but I'll be able to move around pretty easy, but now my shots on target are probably going to suffer. And he's only a couple squads away from me, so I think he'll be a stage or two over pretty much the whole time. And so I'm sure he'll be checking in on me.
Well, let him run it. Hopefully you can watch him run it.
Well, it depends, because I think he's ahead of me.
Yeah.
And so
depends on how far apart they are.
That might work, which it might not also.
So I'm looking here because Walther's out of Fort Smith, so apparently Walther's real close, because this is
it's pretty close.
Van Buren, which is right there at Fort Smith. They're on Interstate 40, northwest Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like y'all will go up, I guess, and go to Oklahoma City and take I-40 right on over there. That ought to be a pretty easy drive.
Yeah, it won't be bad. We can make it in a day, which is
good for us.
Yeah, that's not super normal for us, because it's usually a 2-day trip to wherever we're going for ARA or the raffle matches.
Well, y'all are going the short way out of Texas, only 3.5 hours to get out of Texas when you head up to Oklahoma. Normally we have to go east, go over towards Shreveport, Louisiana, and it's about 6 hours to get out of Texas. Once you get out of Texas, you're almost there, wherever it is.
But it'll be a good match. There's a couple different starting positions. Like there's 2 or 3 stages where you start on a table, and on one of them I think you're laying down on the table. And so some kind of uncommon starting positions and stuff like that. And so
You lay on your back?
I think you're on your stomach. Let me see.
I don't know if I could lay on the stomach the way I got my belt laid out.
It's hard, because there was a stage like that at Area 3, and you had to shoot the whole thing lying down, and it hurt. I mean, the mag pouches are digging into you, and multiple people broke their pouches off or snapped them or whatever once they laid over.
I may just my belt off, stick a mag in my pocket.
Well, you had to draw. It was
draw.
Yeah, because you still have your holster. I mean, if you can take all your mags and stuff off that fat, it is a pain, because that would have been the easiest thing to do, but it wasn't a table start or anything.
You're just gonna have to do a bridge.
Yeah,
do a little bridge.
It was hard. It hurt. I mean, our elbows were scuffed up, and our knees and sternums were bruised, and I mean, it was hard.
How many stages total?
I believe there's 12. Pretty sure. 13, but there's a chrono. The chrono is one stage.
Okay.
So this one, I'm just going to go over the table starts. The rest of the stages are pretty straightforward. I mean, there's a few ports and kind of some difficult windows and stuff like that. But the table starts are, so stage 2, outside the shooting area, hands on top of knees, gun is unloaded, lying flat, unsupported on top on the table. Starting magazine also on table. All other ammo is on your belt. So that one won't be too hard. Hardest thing is that you're sitting down, so it'll take.
You got to sit. You got to shoot from the sitting position.
You don't have to shoot there. You just have to start off there. But like your hands are on your knees, so you're sitting like a kid at school, basically. And so
like
just
you ever said, like.
Yeah, but and it may be kind of gamey, but on most of those, if it's a table start, unless they specify your hand position, everybody's like, if this is your gun on the table, you're like right here, ready to go. And so it just makes for a more difficult start. The very next one, it's got some ports you got to shoot through. And then stage 4 is another table start. Standing inside, shooting area, gun loaded, lying flat, unsupported on the table. Palms are flat on the table, which that's not super uncommon. You're just hands on table.
That when you're standing at a table, right?
Yes, it doesn't say sitting.
I don't see a chair in the picture.
No.
That'd be
And
good.
and some of these may change. From everybody that I've talked to, I'm like the only one that studies these matchbooks because most of them do change, and it's not a big change. A lot of the times, it's like this paper turns into a popper or a steel or something. Just little small stuff. But it looks.
I think it's good to study, though. I mean, because like a lot of those, I mean, you get to think about already about, hey, all right, I'm gonna have to sit. You might be able to practice that a little bit.
That's really the main thing I look at is what the starting position is, like whether you're outside or inside the shooting area. If it's anything weird like hands on a mark or something like that, facing up range if there is one. So I think it'll be good. Like I said, my movement will probably be better. So we'll see how that translates to my percentage and my hits and everything. Like always, I'm going to try to shoot the whole thing with no mics.
Yep.
And like always, I never do. So maybe this will be the first one.
With an attitude like that, you want.
But I've been doing more local matches. Shot San Angelo last month. Had a stage win there, even against Dale. I had a stage win. Dale and
Dale Alcorn
and Colt were both there.
Colt Wilkinson.
So Bad Dog is actually one of the sponsors.
Okay. Colt Wilkinson's got Bad Dog Custom Guns.
Bad Dog Customs. He was at that match. Won against him and Dale. That stage, I'll say I won.
That's all right.
Which it was a hoser stage, and so it's kind of like a point and shoot thing, which I can miss really fast. I just happened to not miss on that stage, but been doing a lot more as far as like local matches and going to Abilene, shooting that steel match, stuff like that. Which I know it helps on this, because I mean any shooting would help. You know,
Sure.
It's better than nothing. So we'll see if all that pays off. We'll see how Blake does.
All right, very good. Well, good luck this weekend. All right, moving right along to Precision Shots, brought to you by Kello Shooting Sports, your one-stop shop for competition shooting needs. We get a lot of questions because, of course, we sell .22 ammo, and people are always wanting to know how to test and how to get everything. How do I get the best ammo?
Yeah.
And of course, our answer is always
Test.
go to the tunnel. Got to go to the tunnel and do the Ely customer range. Ely customer range. Joseph runs that. Manager of there. Going to bring the gun in. Going to do it in a tunnel where everything is controlled. Where the only variable is a change in a lot of ammo.
The reason we say that is because that really is. I mean, regardless if it's the best way, arguably it's the only way, because there's no way to know beforehand. Like there's no preconditioning of anything, whether that's speed or machine number or anything. We have no idea what each lot is going to do in each rifle until you shoot it. And so that's what we recommend, because that's the only way to find out.
Exactly. Because we've had, like when one gentleman set the range record at the customer range, and of course, word got out that his gun had shot everybody, and all of his buddies called up, I want that same lot.
Everybody wants that lot.
We'd shoot that in there, and that lot didn't necessarily work good in their rifle. Worked the best. We ended up being some other ones that were better, and a lot of people, they didn't understand it.
Or maybe it did. It just wasn't as good as it was in his rifle.
Exactly.
And that's just how it works. It's not the same.
There's just so much variation between the chamber that's in the barrel, the depth of that chamber, the loaded length of the ammo, and you not being center fired, where center fire you can load your own and you can adjust all of that. With rimfire you can't, so you have to test various lot numbers to do that instead, and then find that particular lot that shoots good, and then buy all you can.
Even then, even if all your ammo was identical, barrels aren't.
Right.
It's the same concept, because they're all made as close as they can be to being the same as one another, and it's just not repeatable. I mean,
Right.
some of that stuff is just going to be impossible to repeat.
Okay, but for today, we had questions coming from guys. All right, just no way I can get to the customer range to do it inside, and I'm going to have to do it at my home range or at my house and everything. So how is the best way to do it? And so the way I did it before we had the test range and we had the tunnel is, well, let me say this first. The main thing that I see, I think, is a mistake most people make is they just don't have enough shots.
Right.
You have to shoot enough to where it's a statistically significant number to where there's actually can see a difference. At the Ely customer range, when we take those ones to the final stage, what Joseph will do is he'll have 15 to 20 lots. He's going to shoot 10 shots out of all of them in your rifle, and then he's going to narrow it down to 5 to 6 to 7, whatever it is.
However many look good based on the groups and the scores and everything. There's typically about 5. And if some of them are close, like if the 4th and 5th one are close, or there's like a 6th one that's close to number 5, then I'll add that in there. Sometimes there's 6 or 7 or 8 that are all real close, so I'll bring all of them back.
Right.
And
so then when he brings them back, he's going to shoot 30 more shots. It's going to give you 40 total shots for those, say, final 5.
Yeah.
And so you really need to shoot like that. So what I did when I was doing my own without the tunnel is shoot a whole box, which would be 50.
Yep.
And Joseph mentioned their score, and we talk about how they score because now this is going to depend on what game you're playing, but most of us are all shooting bench rest for score. So honestly, I really don't care what the group size is.
Right.
You got to care what it scores, because if you have, let's say you're shooting a 5-shot group, and
which
4 of them are dead center punches, and the 5th one lips out.
Yeah.
Well, if you're shooting ARA and that's just a 50, that might be the highest scoring one in your gun because you got 4 perfect pinwheels and then 150. Now, if you're shooting IR 50-50 and that's going to give you a -2, then maybe you can't take that. But you got to think about what game you're shooting.
And basically score translates into consistency.
Yes.
Is all it means. So if you hear us talk about score, we are talking about performance. But the biggest thing that adds to that score is how consistent the ammo is. And so even if it does have a flyer, if that flyer only goes to where it's a 50 and not a 25 or a 0, you're still in pretty good shape. If that's the worst shot that you're getting, then you're doing pretty good.
Absolutely. And the bad thing about doing this by group size is one shot can ruin a group.
Yep.
So if you've got, like I said a while ago, 4 of them that are dead center, one hole, literally one ragged hole, and then you got one that flies out, that if you go by group, it's horrible.
Yep.
If you go by score, it might be very good.
Yeah.
So what I would do, and I'm going to give you ARA example. You can do whatever target you need to do, but I was always shooting ARA. So I would get my gun, I would get over there on the sider, and I would shoot a 5-shot group to zero in my scope. And 2, I'm still going to shoot groups a little bit. I know everybody is used to that, and so I'm going to shoot a 5-shot group. I'm going to zero in my scope. I'm going to shoot another 5-shot group, make sure my scope is where it should be. If it's not, then I'm going to adjust it again and do another 5-shot group. And then once I've got my scope dialed in like I want, I'm just going to shoot an entire ARA target, 1 shot at each bull, all 25. And I'm reading my flags. I'm doing just like it would be in a match, and I want to see how that thing scores. And then when I get finished, I will take whatever ammo is left in that box and shoot the siders and shoot those. And again, what I'm looking at is how is this thing going to score for me, because that's ultimately what I'm shooting. I'm shooting a game for score, so let's see what it's going to do for score. And I'll do that. Again, the trick is, and what makes shooting at home difficult is you need to do as many lots as you can possibly do.
Yeah.
Like I say, in the customer range, we're doing 15 to 20. You really need a good sample size to try to find that.
I would say, I mean, for the average person, I would say, regardless of whether you're testing match or 10x, whatever line you're testing, I would do 10 different lots, preferably like 2 boxes of each one. And I only say that because there's so many lots. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money to test all of them. And so if we've got 35 lots listed and you do 10, that's pretty good. That's a third of them, basically, without having to, blow a whole bunch of money on ammo that you don't even know if your gun likes it or not yet.
Yep. And I see a lot of people that will order lots. Well, this shot good in my buddy's gun.
Yeah.
Well, and that's an indicator that maybe that might shoot in yours, but you really don't know until you shoot it in your gun. We get a lot of that where we get people that watch the website and they see a lot number going.
If it starts selling
out, they just jump in and buy half.
And it's the same at a match. I mean, when we set up, if you see 10 people come up and they all get the same lot number, they get 4 or 5 boxes of the same lot, more people are going to come up there because they want to try it. Not saying that that's not an indicator that it may end up doing well in your gun. Some lots are like that, where it may not be the best possible lot in your rifle, but it's a good option in like multiple rifles. Like some of them are just like that. They just perform well in multiple rifles, but not necessarily that top one, because 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a different lot from rifle to rifle.
Yes, absolutely. And when Ely at the factory differentiates between match and 10X, it's done solely based on the way it shoots in 4 different rifles in their proof range. That's the only difference between 10X and match. They look at the score and the group size on those, and based on that, if it's outside of a certain parameters, then it's going to go into the match box. Now, it's still very good ammunition. Yeah. It's not junk. And they're just trying to tighten it up. So if your buddy shoots it in his gun, then that just means, well, then it
works in his gun.
It worked in his gun. So you've got 5 guns now that it shot pretty well in. So that kind of increases the odds that it's going to work in your gun, but it's by no way a guarantee.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not a guarantee. But again, if you can get with Joseph, he'll certainly test your gun at the Ely customer range and help you find the best ammo for your particular rifle. But if you can't, you have to do it on your own. Shoot for score. If that's the game you're playing, then shoot a target for score and see what it does. Shoot as many shots as you can. Usually, I think by doing 50 in one gun is plenty.
And
you can get it done.
I think where the biggest, I won't say misconception, the biggest unknown is from centerfire, because a lot of these guys shoot centerfire. I shot centerfire way before I ever shot rimfire, and you can shoot 3 to 5 rounds in centerfire and have a pretty good idea of what the ammo is going to do. Rimfire is not like that at all. You flat out need more shots. You need 20, 30, 40, or 50 to have any clue what it's going to do. Because it's not as consistent as centerfire. You can't load it as consistently.
And that's why I like rimfire, because we get to shoot a bunch. And it's no big deal to go shoot 500 rounds
and it's
in my
cheaper.
rimfire gun, because I'm not going to do that in my centerfire gun.
Yeah.
If I'm shooting on them, I'm shooting 15, 20 shots max.
The principles as far as loading the ammo and how consistent it can be, or that it can be, is completely different. I mean, those principles don't carry over to rimfire, and the more shots that you have that give you an idea of how that ammo is going to do in your rifle, the better.
All right, very good. So that's how we would test if we were doing it outside of the customer range. All right, there we're going to wrap up this particular episode, number 16. Looking toward episode 17. Joseph's going to have his report on Area 4 championships in Arkansas, how him and Blake and all the other guys did. And then we're going to look into indoor rimfire bench rest. ARA, PSL, IR 50/50, ABRA, they all shoot a little bit of indoors during the winter season. It's coming up on us, and everybody thinks it's so easy, but I'm telling you, it's not as easy as it looks.
I thought the first time we went to Chickenfoot, which is where the indoor nationals are held, I thought there was going to be 2,500s shot all day long. and it's a whole different monster.
It's a whole different monster. You do typically shoot better scores, but it is extremely difficult. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and give you some insights on a few things that I've learned through that. And we'll go over that on our next episode. But between now and then, please remember to subscribe to our podcast and recommend it to all your shooting friends. Go to straightshootingwithdanandjoseph.com and check out all the different ways you can listen and watch on a YouTube channel. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.